we are all set and ready to convene the regular board meeting of the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh for February 10th, 2022. Before we do roll call, I just want to note that the composition of the board has changed a little bit since we last met in December of last year. Mayor Gainey has resigned his seat on the URA board, as did Director Jody Hirsch, who had been serving the board for several years. We certainly thank Jody for her commitment to the city and to the URA and to equitable development and for her service on the board. And Mayor Gainey has nominated 2 new board members as a result. Kyle Chintalopoli, who has been appointed as the city's Chief Economic Development Officer, was appointed to the board and joins us today. And State Representative Sarah Innamorato was also appointed to the board and is now a member, but had a prior commitment for today. And so we can let the record show that Director Chintalopoli, Powell, Lavelle, and I are all present for today's board meeting. And Kyle, welcome back, I guess, to the URA and welcome to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm excited to be here.
Want to say anything at all, or should we just go ahead with the agenda? Yeah,
we can move ahead. I'm excited to be back. Yeah, it's week 2 here, so just getting settled in, but excited to be back. Working with the staff at the authority. Strengthening relationships with those that I already have, and building ones with that I now have the chance to work with. So excited to get to work.
Thank you. Next order of business, sorry for whoever is managing the slides if I went out of order there. But the first or next order of business is the approval of the December 16th, 2021 board meeting minutes.
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Should have said any abstentions, I suppose, but motion carries. And then we have I know a couple of public comment registrants, both with two people register for live public comment. So if they are here, we can go first to Matt Singer and then to Carmen Brown.
Hi there. My name is Matt Singer, and I'm Chief of Staff to Pittsburgh City Councilman Corey O'Connor, who represents District 5, which includes the Hazelwood neighborhood. Today, the Board of Directors of the Urban Redevelopment Authority will consider multiple agenda items affecting Hazelwood. Those items are 5B, 5D, and 5E. On behalf of Councilman O'Connor, I'd like to express the support for these projects. Gladstone project is a marquee example of community-led development and community-led and neighborhood-driven development. A prime case of adaptive reuse, the work at Gladstone will breathe new life into the facility. A feat not possible without the years of tireless work by countless community champions. It's a wise choice to invest rental gap program funding and American Rescue Plan Act funding into the Gladstone project. The ongoing redevelopment of 2nd Avenue's 4800 block will be strengthened by the critical work that City of Bridges Community Land Trust is doing between Chatsworth and Osprey Way. This will build multiple new for-sale homes that will be permanently affordable to residents between the 50% and 80% AMI levels, further complementing ongoing affordable housing investments and strategies already underway in the neighborhood to ensure that it remains a place that residents in and from Hazelwood can continue to live and thrive. The plans for the 4800 block were and continue to be subject to a robust community process, and we're excited to see these parcels transferred to City of Bridges Community Land Trust for what we believe is their highest and best use. Finally, Oak Moss Consulting's Woods Village project will produce a mixed-use development that will both bring new housing units online as well as add more commercial and retail options to Hazelwood. We encourage the advancement of negotiations between the URA and Oak Moss Consulting to further this proposal. With all of that said, we humbly ask that the URA look upon these projects with favorable consideration. We firmly believe that they represent responsible development and strategic investment that's to the benefit of Hazelwood. Thank you kindly for your time.
Thank you. And we have Carmen Brown.
If Carmen is in the meeting room, could you identify yourself in the meeting Q&A? I'm not seeing you as an attendee, but you may be listed under a different username. We'll give it a couple of seconds here.
There were no written public comment submissions, so if Ms. Brown is not present,
That doesn't look like it.
then there's no other public comment. And we can move into a couple of additional announcements. First, regarding the 2022 annual meeting of the URA. As you see there on the slide, board has scheduled, see there on the slide, the board has scheduled the 2022 annual meeting to occur during the March meeting, March 10th at 2 p.m. That's the meeting at which the URA board elects on an annual basis the officers of the board. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, the composition of the board has changed with new appointees from Mayor Gainey. And so until the March meeting, the current officers continue to serve as officers, and then we will elect new officers next month. I think the only other sort of cleanup announcement is that a briefing was held for members of the board by staff this past Monday, February 7th, simply to brief the board on items on today's meeting agenda. No deliberations were had and no decisions were made. I think that those are all the announcements that I am supposed to make. But we have a couple of other announcements. First, regarding an RFP for outdoor dining and retail grants. And go ahead. Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I'm Josette Fitzgibbons. I'm the manager of Neighborhood Business District Programs here at the URA. And this is just a quick announcement. We are putting out an RFP to request proposals from architectural, engineering, and design professionals to help us with our outdoor dining and retail grant program that we will hopefully be starting in the next month or so. This is the program that we've called Streeteries up until now. And it's basically, the RFP is to develop some guidelines, work with our business district groups to help businesses within their corridors, provide some on-call technical assistance, and participate in informational webinars. And this is tied to the grant program that we're working on putting together for our business district groups. Any questions?
Nope. Thank you. Thanks, Josette.
Sure. Thank you.
Next up, I think we have Dylan Sloat, who's going to provide the fourth quarter 2021 URA performance report.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Dylan Sloat, a legislative and data analyst here at the URA. You'll see on your screen just some summary statistics from our 2021 quarter four performance report, which is available at theura.org on our impact page. I'm just going to go briefly through some of the high level statistics, and I'll point out for our new board members where these values are pulled from. So just to start, you'll see that the URA connected 344 individuals and businesses to resources through meetings and information sessions in the fourth quarter. Those are run by our business solutions team. You also see the URA assisted 83 individuals in staying in their homes through housing crisis prevention programs and through housing related legal assistance programs. These are Housing Opportunity Fund program values from our Housing Stabilization Program and from our Legal Assistance Program, respectively. You also see 26 individuals were assisted in achieving homeownership. That comes from another HOF program, the Down Payment and Closing Cost Assistance Program. This is a total of 64 units of affordable housing created or preserved across all residential and consumer lending programs. Additionally, you'll see the URA supported 87 individuals and businesses through wayfinding calls and emails, and also through 15 loan closings between the URA's commercial lending division and our affiliates. Finally, you'll see that the URA supported neighborhoods through the disbursement of $380,000 through our land care program to maintain vacant lots, and through our neighborhood initiative funds programs to support neighborhood projects. If anyone is interested in reading more about any of these values, I encourage you to see the full reports at our website at ura.org and going to our impact tab. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dylan. Unless there are any questions from board members on either of those announcements, we can move on to the Avenues of Hope items on our agenda, beginning first with Center Avenue and the Western Manor Bedford campus, which I think Evan Miller is going to present on.
Yes, I'll be taking it this afternoon. Thank you, Chairman. My name is Evan Miller. I'm the manager of residential lending here with the URA, and today I'm presenting several pieces of financing for approval that are related to the Bedford Senior Campus in the Hill District. Bedford Senior Campus is the site of a former tuberculosis hospital along Bedford Avenue that's been repurposed into what are currently 3 operating senior apartment buildings. 2 of those buildings are our main focus today. The first is Western Manor, a 32-unit HUD 202 finance property that serves seniors primarily at or below 30% of the area median income. And the second building is Lyons Manor, which is a 40-unit low-income housing tax credit project that serves seniors at or below 50% of the area median income. Both of the buildings, they've been in service for over 30 years, and that a lot of their building systems have gone way beyond their useful lifespans. And both properties right now are currently without a property manager, which is a very critical issue for everyone involved. And the URA investment today is really meant to stabilize the operations of these properties in the immediate term by resolving some of HUD's most pressing concerns, while also attracting a highly qualified property manager to come and take over operations at both of these properties. Hill CDC is working in tandem on behalf of these buildings with the URA, HUD, PHFA, and others on a long-term redevelopment strategy for the entire site. But in the interim, there's these capital expenses and operational deficits that really need to be addressed right now. Western Manor is a HUD-supported property, and it's failed several recent REAC inspections, and it's at risk of having operations terminated at the building if nothing's done. So today's approvals, there's several parts, but the first one is a $500,000 rental gap program loan to Western Manor Inc. to address those most critical physical issues at the property and to prevent HUD from taking further action, which really at the end of the day would most negatively impact the current residents. This loan would help fund around a $600,000 effort to seal the building envelope. This would include repairing the roof, tuck pointing, some mold inspections, and it's understood that there's additional funding that would be needed for the full overhaul of the building, but this $500,000 loan is really meant to be an emergency loan that gets the ball rolling, hopefully keeps HUD from taking further action, and to really serve as a beacon of confidence that we can make an impact here and attract further investment from funding partners outside of the URA. Typically, the URA joins in on projects like this once there's a complete funding picture and capital stack, but this is a bit of an exceptional circumstance, and Housing Opportunity Fund monies, which this loan would be funded with, are really well positioned to quickly get out the door and address an issue like this. And so the second piece of financing for approval today relates to both Western and Lyons. As these properties have aged, the building systems, they've failed, their expenses have gone up, their vacancy rates are also going up because of that, and this is leading to a significant drain in their operating income and available reserves at both of these properties. And so the outstanding payables that are at both properties are a big holdup to get any potential property manager to actually sign on right now. So there have been discussions with a highly qualified property manager that would be willing to take on these duties at Western Lyons, but only if there were funds available to pay these operating expenses. Operating expenses, funding reserves, those are not allowable uses under our rental gap program. So we're recommending a $300,000 demonstration program grant funded by the Housing Opportunity Fund to both Western and Alliance, up to $150,000 per property, $300,000 in aggregate. The URA, we've reviewed statements for some of these outstanding payables, and we think that this would cover those outstanding expenses and go a long way in attracting a competent property manager to sign on here at the property. I do want to make a note that this $300,000 demonstration grant would be reimbursed by American Rescue Plan funds. The URA plans to launch an emergency preservation program in the near future, but it's not operational at this time. But once it is up and running, we would likely reimburse the Housing Opportunity Fund for this grant. So the representative from Western Manor that was scheduled to attend today had to cancel last minute due to a family obligation. But at this time, I'm going to turn over to the board for any questions and discussion that may pursue.
Any questions, comments, concerns from board members?
No questions. Just a quick comment. Amidst all of what was provided, I just want to highlight that first and foremost, what we're really doing is keeping seniors in their homes by actually doing this. And it would be a travesty for those seniors to have to lose their housing. So that's first and sort of foremost what we're doing. And I just want to thank the URA staff for working on this in order to keep those seniors in their homes.
Thank you, Councilman. Really well said. Any other additions or questions or comments?
Sure, Mr. Chair, I would echo the councilman's comments. Related to this, thank the Housing Opportunity Fund Board, URA staff for all the work that you've done. Hill CDC, Councilman, for your leadership and making sure this property is been preserved in a position to allow us to invest in it. As Evan said, there's a lot more work in front of us. This is a first step. So excited to get out there and work with partners to come in to make sure that we are able to invest in the property and provide housing to a level that our seniors and some of our most vulnerable deserve. And I think lastly, Councilman, and I applaud the Housing Opportunity Fund Board for doing this and URA staff. But when we were having conversations related to starting the Housing Opportunity Fund, having funding that was flexible, could be deployed and done in new and innovative ways, I think this is something that we all knew we needed additional resources for. So it's exciting to see this happening in practice, so that we are ensuring that these folks are stable. So thank you all for your work on this.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, these buildings are really critical in the Middle Hill, providing access to affordable housing for seniors, and really illustrative of one of the many crises that we face in terms of affordable housing in the city is making sure that it can be preserved, at levels that are safe and actually hospitable for those who live in them.
I do want to add and echo the sentiments before me that I, thank you to the URA, Hill CDC, and everyone else for stepping in the gap, but, pointing out that our seniors have been living in these, deplorable conditions, and how can we better partner with other organizations to ensure that these fixes are flagged so that we're not here when the roof is caving in and other dire renovations need to happen to ensure that people can live with, again, dignity and respect. How can we make sure that we're not coming in as a Calgary to save the day, which I'm glad we can do, but how can we make sure that our systems are flagging these issues earlier so that we're not having people live in subpar conditions?
That's a great question. I don't know if the staff has any thoughts about that, but I do think, like, for the whole city, it's something we got to wrestle with, because you're right. I mean, it shouldn't take a crisis to generate the investments that that our seniors and that, frankly, anyone living in affordable housing needs.
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't hear the question part of it, but we are
Were there any,
looking
I guess
at-
in short, the question was like in general, but in this case specifically, were there any sort of flags that we or others missed that would have allowed for this investment to be made before it got to the point where it's a crisis with, the building failing multiple HUD inspections?
I can take
Yes.
that
Go
question.
ahead, Shane.
I would say over the last maybe 3 years, the URA staff have been working with Hill CDC and an additional developer to put the pieces together for a larger redevelopment for the whole Bedford campus, including the vacant URA parcel buildings on the site, which is called Western Restoration. We were really working towards a larger 4% reinvestment to ensure that all of the units are brought up to speed and experience the investment and that they really, really deserve, not just emergency Band-Aid work. But unfortunately, the REACT score did slip in before we could finalize that development plan. So as far as this specific scenario, we're all working towards that larger redevelopment plan, and we're really excited about it because it is such a beautiful space up there for those seniors. I recommend anyone to go up and enjoy the fresh air while walking around campus there. As far as moving forward, there are very active conversations about preservation within the city. We have a regular preservation working group that meets every 2 weeks to discuss programmatic needs, fundraising, policy, and really ensuring that there is a space to discuss all of the components that feed into a healthy preservation program for Pittsburgh, because we are having a lot of properties come into this state where they need reinvestment, and we need to make sure that there are responsible parties that are there to address and react quickly. Also keeping a very active and open conversation with HUD, so we know when these REACT scores are happening, and I think that relationship has evolved in the last year with regular conversations. So I feel like we're moving in the right direction.
Thanks, Shayna. That was really helpful. Any other thoughts or questions or issues that the board wants to explore on this one? If not, given the critical nature of these investments, I think a motion would be in order.
So move.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, I think Brett Morgan is going to present on this Hazelwood project.
That's correct. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Brett Morgan. I'm a lending analyst with URA, and today I am presenting 3 action items related to proposed URA financing for the Glaston Residences redevelopment. This project is located at the site of the former Gladstone School in the Hazelwood neighborhood, and it is a 9% low-income housing tax credit redevelopment. It includes solely the original building, which in the rendering is the building on the right. The annex building, which you can see on the left, will remain under Hazelwood Initiative's ownership, where they're going to be planning future planning sessions with the community to determine its use. But the proposed rehabilitation of the original building includes 51 total units, and that's broken down into 4 studio units, 39 1-bedrooms, and 8 2-bedrooms, as the development team is targeting individuals, smaller sized families, and seniors. As such, 10 of those units will also be fully ADA accessible. Additionally, there is planned to be deep and diverse affordability at the site, supported by 20 Housing Authority project-based vouchers. The affordability breakdown is on the slide, but specifically it is 6 units at or below 20% area median income, 1 unit at or below 30%, 20 units at or below 50%, 16 units at or below 60%, and 8 market rate units. To speak a bit about the development team, Hazelwood Initiative and the community builders are the co-developers on the site, and together formed the development entity as well as the managing member. But Beyond ownership, Hazelwood Initiative is also the nonprofit applicant required by RGP guidelines, and the community builders are serving as the construction manager, property manager, and service provider as well. The rental gap program loan itself is in the amount of $1,715,000, and it's planned to be sourced with a combination of Housing Opportunity Fund, home, and CDBG dollars. URA staff are requesting authorization from the board for the RGP loan, as well as a waiver of RGP guidelines, which are the first two action items. The third action item involves the City of Pittsburgh's allocation of American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, funds in the amount of $2 million that was allocated last year, which will either be included within the same RGP loan or granted out separately to Hazelwood Initiative or an affiliated entity of theirs. The ARPA conversations are still ongoing with the city, and we expect to have further guidance with the execution of the reimbursement agreement. But this authorization, this third item, is more or less to allow those ARPA funds to come through the URA to go to the development. Regardless of those conversations, however, the RGP loan will still require an affordability period of 40 years, which matches PHFA's LIHTC requirements, and that ensures that there is lasting affordability in this redevelopment and in the Hazelwood neighborhood for a long time to come. So today we have both Vanessa Murphy with the community builders, as well as Sonia Tillman with, she's the executive director of Hazelwood Initiative, on the call on behalf of the Gladstone Residences development team. And at this time, we can open it up to any questions or comments from the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Would note we also heard from Councilman O'Connor's office at the beginning of the meeting in support of this project. But do the representatives from the development team want to add any color or additional detail?
Sure. My name is Sonia Tillman. I'm the executive director of Hazelwood Initiative. As Brett said, I just wanted to say this project has been a very long time coming. It's the largest development site in Hazelwood outside of Hazelwood Green, and is the result of a very robust community process that started back in 2015. So at this point, we are just thrilled to be on the cusp of breaking ground on this project, which is a very critical piece of our strategy to preserve and protect and develop the community's affordable housing goals. And we're very appreciative of the URA's continued support in this endeavor. Thank you. And I would like to say we're most appreciative of the URA's housing development staff, which has been amazing to us throughout this whole process.
This is Vanessa Murphy with the Community Builders. I echo that. I was going to chime in and say that the staff have been wonderful to work with, real partners, and understand the difficulties in these tax credit, both low-income housing and historic tax credit projects.
Thank you. Any questions or comments or thoughts from the board?
I would just, Mr. Chair, like to say congratulations to Sonia and Vanessa. I think Sonia, I remember touring this about 7 years ago, so I'm particularly excited to be able to vote for the funding today. Thanks to Brett and Shana for their work, and yeah, it's great and exciting to see us moving forward.
Completely agree. And for that reason, I think a motion to approve would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you and congratulations. And now we're going to move on to Larimer and ML Meyer.
Thank you and good afternoon. I'm ML Meyer, Assistant Director of Real Estate Transactions, and I'm presenting today the for-sale housing development proposed by Keel Partners for 17 URA-owned parcels in Larimer. Keel Partners is a collaborative that includes Kingsley Association, East Liberty Development Incorporated, or ELDI, East Liberty Housing Incorporated, which is the former owners of East Liberty Garden Apartments, and the Larimer Consensus Group, or LCG. Keel Partners envisions attracting Black professional and working families to Larimer by developing infill market rate and affordable for sale housing, starting at the neighborhood's strong border or strong edge along East Liberty Boulevard. Future phases will be located further to the north and east in the area that LCG has defined as the neighborhood's R1 residential core. This for sale development will build off of and complement the 334 mixed income rental units that have been delivered or are being delivered to the neighborhood under the auspices of the $30 million Larimer East Liberty Choice Neighborhoods Initiative grant. The collaborative plans to develop at least 50 for sale houses in multiple phases. So plans for the first phase of the program call for a joint venture between ELDI and LCG to develop 16 for sale single family residences, including 14 along East Liberty Boulevard between the Eco Center and the Kingsley Association, and 2 on Carver Street north of Paulson. The redeveloper is committed to making 30% or 5 of these 16 units affordable to households with incomes at or below 80% of area median income. The preliminary budget for the first phase is $7.2 million, and the redeveloper will be seeking URA assistance in the form of pre-development loans and other financing. These items will be presented to the board at a future date. So authorization is now requested to enter into exclusive negotiations with ELDI or a related entity for 6 months. The exclusive negotiations period will permit the developer to undertake site due diligence, develop its design, and pursue financing. The project will come back to the board 2 more times, first for approval of a proposal and disposition contract, and then for approval of the final drawings and evidence of financing and authorization to execute a deed. Ted Melnick and some others of ELDI are in attendance if there's questions for them or additional questions. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Can you just tell me who makes up the partnership again?
Sure, it's Kingsley Association, ELDI, East Liberty Housing Incorporated, and Larimer Consensus Group. So it's 4 partners that kind of make that acronym KEEL, Keel.
Okay. And then do we know sort of how the partnership is structured?
It's a collaborative. They have an MOU that they've all signed of how they will work together. And maybe more specific questions than like that, one of the development team could answer better than I can.
This is Malik Bankston, and I currently serve as convener for the Keel Partnership. In response to the councilman's question, the partnership was actually formed back in 2013, 2014, actually as a prelude to the work that resulted in the development and submission of the successful CNI grant application. This partnership is, as has been represented, is a collaboration that was recognized by the federal HUD office even as having been crucial and central to the success of the CNI application back in 2014. The collaboration itself is based on the relative strengths that each of the partners brings to the table, which are all very different. Obviously, some partners have experience in real estate management or development. The ELHI role in particular was strengthened by their ownership of a targeted property that was part of the assemblage for the choice neighborhoods. Kingsley as a service provider for families in and around the targeted neighborhood. And finally, the Larimer Consensus Group as the community-based group that we would recognize now as an RCO, principally responsible for helping to manage the various execution and implementation of projects related to redevelopment throughout the neighborhood. So that agreement, that original agreement, which was entered into, again, back in 2014, has been slightly revised, but it basically serves as the cornerstone for sort of defining the relationship for taking on a very significant project like this one.
Okay, thank you. The context matters a lot, that this actually goes back to the origination of the choice neighborhood application. So that's very helpful to know.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks, Malik. Any other questions? Thoughts, comments, concerns from the board? Sorry.
Just no, you're fine, Mr. Chair. Just as follow up to that, and Malik, it's good to hear your voice, even if we can't see you. But I know this was part, the development of the single family strategy was part of the work that was happening around choice. In terms of the way the financing would proceed, though, just given where they are in the grant, is this existing outside, or is the idea to be able to use, you know, some of the remaining funds, maybe for the neighborhood activities on this? And then we did have a question related to maybe the income mix, if you can speak to that as well.
Yeah, so with respect to, this was in fact captured and represented in the original choice application and was to be funded particularly by a portion of those neighborhood improvement funds that were part of the choice award. Because of the constraints, the obvious kinds of constraints around execution and delivery around choice, those dollars ultimately were reallocated and redistributed to support other activities, because we did not figure out a way to actually execute and deliver on this goal within the framework, the 5-year framework of the choice implementation. But it is important to recognize and understand that this was actually a part of the original delivery program that we hope to achieve under choice. And it's taken us some time. And this is with respect to housing, I think it's important for everybody to understand of all the various sort of housing segments that the market, that are recognized within the housing market, this is the hardest one to deliver. And that's part of the reason why it's last. It's taken us this long to try to figure out a strategy. In some instances, we're deploying and using some new tools that weren't available to us maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But we have some new tools in the toolbox that have enabled us to kind of think about this and to actually be able to arrive at a strategy that we think will allow us to deliver on this.
Can you talk a little bit more about that, Malik,
Yeah.
in terms of this particular segment of housing being the hardest?
Well, it's recognized, Councilman, it's recognized altogether that there are probably 5 segments to a healthy housing market. And we have managed, at least in this particular neighborhood, we've managed to achieve and realize significant progress in delivering, delivering units across 3 of those segments in particular, but those all represent segments of the rental market. So there are deeply subsidized units that we can generally kind of think of as sort of Section 8 level, voucher level units that are part of the delivery that's already been realized. We have affordable units, which are income based. And then finally, we have some market rate rental units as well, all of which are being delivered under choice. And there have been other developments as well that have contributed to that stack. The next segment of the housing market, we can think of it as the affordable for sale segment. And in total, there's only been maybe 2 units that have actually been delivered in the affordable for sale segment. One has been delivered by ELDI, and one has been delivered by PHFA. I'm sorry, PHDC, not PHFA, PHDC. And then the final segment, which is the market rate for sale, there have been 0 units delivered in that segment. And at the end of the day, what was really captured and represented in the Larimer Vision and Land Use Plan was an understanding that in order to build a healthy, durable neighborhood, we needed to see activity and progress in all 5 of those segments. The last one being, as I said, the market rate for sale. and just the challenges, the numbers that are associated with trying to figure out how to deliver market rate for sale units is the biggest challenge of all. And so it has just taken some time to try to figure out exactly how we can deliver on that in order to actually see progress across the board. Does that make sense?
No, it makes total sense. In many ways, my question was actually more rhetorical, but you answered it excellently. What I was really getting at is what you sort of spoke about, which is you have to have a healthy market. Yes, we have to have conversations about affordable housing, but we need to ensure that there's housing that's affordable to everyone, whether that's someone that's affordable to $200 a month, $2,000, or can afford a $200,000 home, whatever that is. You need to have both all to have a healthy market and to really bring back thriving minority neighborhoods. But often we only focus on the affordable component of it. So thank you for the answer.
I just wanted to daylight a question in the Q&A space because I think it's important, but someone had asked, are these homes going to low income families? And just to highlight again that I believe it's 5 out of the 13 units will be sold to families under 80% AMI.
Yep. Our commitment, the commitment that we've made in keeping with what we've seen as sort of, I guess, the current practice, a minimum of 20% of the units would be delivered at the affordable level for sale, which is 80% AMI, I believe.
It's about 55,000 for a family of 2.
Can you share that?
So, yeah, at the 80% AMI level, a family of 2, that income's about $55,000 a year, and that adjusts for a family size of 3 or 4. But most of our buyers historically have been young couples or older couples, empty nesters. We focus numbers around family size of 2. Malik mentioned, the minimum is 20%. We're actually exceeding that, shooting for 30% at 80% AMI. And we think we could still, with the financing tools that are available, make that work.
And also just to maybe to follow up on another part of your question, Kyle, there have been, in terms of tools in the toolbox, there has been a very creative and successful sort of execution and delivery on the part of ELDI using new market tax credits. And this is probably one of only a couple of instances around the country where new market tax credits, which are secured and administered through the Urban Redevelopment Affiliate, PUI, to underwrite the development of for sale housing. And so ELDI is right now probably in I'll say the closing stages of delivering 26 units that are being and I don't know, what's the percentage of those that are affordable?
We've done at least 6 of the 16 that have sold, with 2 or 3 more.
Right.
So almost a third of them are going to be sold affordable.
Thank you. This is sort of like Malik, you're like delivering a masterclass here in challenges and strategies of successful affordable housing development.
I think what's important, I just want to say one final thing. I think it's important for people to understand and realize that folks in the Larmer community that have been involved in this work since, at least in terms of this sort of contemporary phase of the work for the last 12, 14 years now, understood from the very beginning that in order for us to have a durable neighborhood, we could not rebuild Larmer if we focused only on doing low income and affordable housing, low income rental housing. And everyone understood the importance of investing in this kind of work, and that ultimately it was as critical to our success long term as all of the other kind of work that was secured through things like choice neighborhoods.
Yeah, extremely good point. So unless there are any more questions or thoughts that the board wants to bring up, I think a motion would be in order.
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, and we will see this again, actually, like at least one more time, since this is just the beginning of exclusive negotiations. But Malik, thanks so much for all your thoughtful comments and your entire team's incredible hard work on this.
Thank you.
With that, we will move on to Community Land Trust 4800 block of 2nd Avenue, and Danita Thomas is going to present on both this and the next agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Donita Thomas. I'm a project manager for the Development Services Unit of the URA. Next for your consideration is City of Bridges Community Land Trust Single Family Affordable Homes. Today, we recommend accepting the redevelopment proposal and entering into a disposition contract with the City of Bridges Community Land Trust or related entity. The board previously approved entering into exclusive negotiations for this project March 2021. Next slide, please. City of Bridges proposes 2 phases of construction, 12 newly permanently affordable for sale units to be sold between 50 and 80% area median income. This phase 1.
That's okay.
Someone in your house is excited about this one.
So sorry about that.
Oh,
My
that's
dog is
right.
very excited about Hazelwood. So sorry about that. Phase 1 will consist of 4 units with a target start date of April 2022. Each will be a 3-bedroom townhome. So far committed to the project, the funding sources include loans, Hand Endowment Funds, Fair Funds, and Hillman Foundation funds. Proposed funding sources include For Sale Development Program funds, a Federal Home Loan Bank, and Solar United Neighbors funds. This project will feature a modular design and construction approach. This approach allows for a much shorter construction period, creating project savings through holding costs, interest, and insurance. Modular construction is also generally less disruptive to surrounding neighbors, since so much construction occurs off-site. These units have also been selected as one of 15 projects nationwide to be a participant in the International Living Future Institute's Affordable Housing Pilot for the Living Building Challenge. This project will surpass MBE and WBE goals with 28 and 23% respectively. Prior to the sale of the property, the proposed development will again be presented to the URA board for approval of final drawing and evidence of financing and for authorization to execute the deed. Representing the development team today is Ed Nusser, Executive Director of City of Bridges Community Land Trust, who will be happy to answer any questions at this time.
I had a quick question about this living, I missed the name, the Living Challenge. What was that?
Living Building Challenge.
Living Building Challenge. Could you talk a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really exciting and incredibly challenging work. So it is a program run by the International Living Future Institute, which is a nonprofit group, nationally focused, but based out of Seattle, Washington. They have an office here in Pittsburgh, but they have run a living building challenge or a sort of a certification process to get what they deem their homes and buildings to be living building certified, which is a little bit, it's LEED, but on steroids. And so it takes into account not just energy usage, but how the homes are constructed, the embodied carbon they talk about in construction process, where you're sourcing materials from, what those materials are made out of. And so to really try to create homes that are both going to be 21st century energy efficient homes that are going to reduce stormwater flows off of the site, but also are going to be made up of healthy materials that we are sort of contributing to a healthy indoor air environment and healthy home for all of our homeowners as well. So really, this is thinking about, 50 years ago, lead-based paint was still being used. And so what's the next lead-based paint? How do we get ahead of these things that we don't yet know what health effects they may have, but how do we use the science we have to create the healthiest home we can? And so as part of that, these homes are going to accomplish at least a 70% reduction in energy use from the grid. So part of that's going to be accomplished by solar panels on all of the homes. Other features including, upgraded insulation and a more airtight building envelope will help us accomplish that as well. And then additionally, all stormwater on the site to accomplish living building certification has to be handled on site and cannot be put into the combined sewer system. And so there are rain barrels and small swales in the front of the homes that will actually be able to capture every drop of stormwater that hits these homes.
Thank you so much. That's really interesting.
Sorry, yeah, that was really impressive.
Yeah.
And you're doing all that, and they're going to be permanently affordable to families between 50 and 80% AMI.
Yes, and you'll see us hopefully next month with the funding request to finalize the financing package. And so there definitely is, this is not the easy way to build affordable housing. I think, as Malik mentioned just earlier, there is no real easy way to build affordable home ownership. But from City of Bridge's view, our view is so much more about, it's so much more than just making sure a mortgage payment is affordable. It's about, is it going to be affordable to live in that home? And that means, for us, pushing the envelope on energy efficiency and on-site renewables, about pushing the envelope around healthy homes so that they don't contribute to pre-existing health conditions for our homeowners. And so we really see this as the next step in our work. It's a definite challenge, but we're really excited to get to work on it.
And just another thing to add for us, it would be really interesting to see as we, obviously this is incredibly amazing, as my colleagues have said, but if there's a way that maybe we could dig through this challenge and think about, how we can incorporate this more pieces of aspects of this challenge into our challenge to developers, that would be really interesting, just as a note to staff. But as always, CLT does amazing work across the city, and this is really exciting to see.
Yes, now we understand why Donita's dog was howling.
We're excited about it.
Yeah.
Quick question. Is there a certain amount of time a homeowner must live in the home before they can sell? And if and when they choose to sell, is there a cap on how much equity they can take out of it?
So in the land trust model, there is a resale formula in place that ensures that the home remains affordable in perpetuity. And so there's a limit on the resale value to ensure that the home remains affordable. We went through our first 2 resales. There is no cap on how long someone can stay there. They can move after a year, they can stay there for 35 years, 60 years, and pass the home down to their children. And anything in that continuum is fine. Unlike some other affordable home ownership projects that, require someone stay in the house for 5 or 10 years, or then, pay back a portion of the support they've received. Because the support from the CLT is dedicated to the home and not the buyer, our interest in maintaining affordability stays regardless of how long someone stays in their home. But just for a quick, sort of equity piece, we went through our first 2 resales last year, actually, of our first homes. So folks had been in those homes at that point for 3 years. So pretty quick turnaround for home ownership because of just the sunk costs of closing costs and transfer taxes that you go into, when you purchase a home and when you sell a home. But when our first two resale buyers went through and sold their homes, they walked away with about $3,900 in equity after 3 years of ownership. That's after, sort of accounting for the closing costs and pieces like that. So it is definitely, it is a limited equity situation, but compared to rental housing, which is a negative equity situation where folks are losing money on a monthly basis. This is sort of the next step, the first rung of the ladder to get folks into stable, affordable home ownership that hopefully they move on to leverage the stability and the equity of CLT ownership to move into market rate ownership after they sell a CLT home. And nationally, that is what we see happen most of the time.
And the folks that bought those homes, Ed, were income qualified as well, right?
Yeah. So every generation of buyer is income qualified. And what was really great, on our first two resales, not only did those first buyers build equity, make some money, but we actually expanded affordability. The second generation of buyer, as a percent of AMI, had a lower income than the first generation of buyer.
Wow. I know this is the first phase. I guess in terms of the second phase, it'll be looking at the director's report here and Denny's presentation, it'll be 8 units.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any sense, Ed, of like where you want to concentrate those? Are you looking, to do them around the same area or sort of elsewhere of need in the neighborhood where there might be some missing teeth?
Yeah, so they're actually for other URA owned parcels that we are still currently in exclusive negotiations for. So actually on the map on your screen right now, the 2 parcels at the end of Chatsworth Avenue that front on Hazelwood Avenue, those 2 parcels we have plans to subdivide to create 4 townhouses there. And then across the street, just where this map cuts off, there's another parcel that we have done schematic plans for a quadplex that would allow us to create first floor, fully accessible 1 or 2 bedroom units, and then stacked on top of those a 2-story, 3-bedroom house there. The quadplex idea is really exciting because on a per unit cost, that's how we can really start to drive down some of our construction gaps. And also too, it allows us to sort of answer, how do we do a fully accessible home ownership unit for folks with mobility impairments.
That's great. Thank you. Great work.
Any final questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. Any opposed? Motion carries. Ed, thank you for all your hard work and for your, really detailed explanations here today. Very much appreciated.
Thank you for the continued support, and thank you to URA staff, and Danita and Victoria and Shayna have all been great to work with on this project.
Thank you. And next, staying in Hazelwood, looks like with Woods Village.
Yep. Next up is the Woods Village proposed new construction of a mixed-use project. Today, we request authorization to extend exclusive negotiations for 90 days, which would give Oak Moss Consulting and Krish Panda for the rights to 47 publicly owned parcels surrounding the Woods House, a historic landmark, which the developer recently turned into a Scottish restaurant. The board previously approved entering into exclusive negotiations in September 2021. The purpose of this board action is to give the developer more time to complete site geotechnical investigations, environmental studies, and a preliminary stormwater management plan. Oak Moss has been working with the city to finalize the site access agreement, and that was completed just last month. The developer is requesting flexibility as he explores his concept and advances conversations with lenders and equity investors. The developer hopes to make this the first opportunity zone project in Pittsburgh. As you can see, total development costs are approximately 15.56 million, which would include 56,000 square feet of residential and 4,000 square feet of commercial space. A total of 62 residential and 8 retail units, 5 3-bedroom, 45 2-bedroom, 1 bedroom, and 8 studio. The project has generated significant community interest, and Chris will continue to engage community members to workshop the concept and flesh out the proposal. He will explore both affordable housing and a job training program to be contingent upon financing. Once he advances his financing, he will be able to nail down the exact number of affordable units, as well as determine the viability of an apprenticeship program in which he hopes to train residents in the construction trades. Representing the development team today is Chris Pandaya, managing member of Oak Moss Consulting, who will be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Right now, because we're not a non.
Are there any questions from the board?
I don't know about questions, Mr. Chair, as much as, you know, Danita, I think you outlined a lot of the diligence that needs to happen. So, you know, through this period, kind of interested where things come out. It seems like there are a number of mission objectives that the project could achieve. You know, understanding the community concerns and wanting to see those discussions continue, you know, as the project proceeds. But so just interested to hear, you know, as things move along.
You may have said this, but I also have a howling dog over here. This is the first opportunity zone project in Pittsburgh, right? This would be first.
Correct.
Understand the ownership structure, but maybe you just haven't figured that out yet.
Chris, if you were hoping to chime in, there's a lot of background noise coming from your end.
It was virtually impossible to understand. I'm gonna try again.
Can you hear me now?
That's better.
That's better. Sorry, no, thank you. I'm Krish Pandya, managing partner of Oak Moss. Appreciate the opportunity to bring this project back to the board and the chair. And just hoping that you know, we can have another 90 days to continue our environmental studies and look at potentially continuing to pursue financing, which we've had a fair amount of interest from banks, as well as a couple of opportunities of funds.
So this is, I guess, I have a little bit of a concern, not necessarily about extending exclusive negotiations, but around some of the progress that has been made on some of these kind of mission objectives, or maybe not made, it sounds like, because we heard very similar goals expressed when we approved the initial period of exclusive negotiations a few months ago. Now we're being asked to extend that period of exclusive negotiations, and it doesn't sound like much progress has been made on, you know, things like the job training, apprenticeship objectives that you have. You know, so what is your plan in terms of like the planning for those aspects of this project?
Yeah, so those objectives remain, Chairman, those objectives remain very strong. We're continuing to work with our partner who is already developed a similar program and is in Braddock and is implementing that right now. A part of the challenge we face on moving a similar program program in Hazelwood is finding a place to start the training activities. And also we want to make sure that the program is fully vetted out before we move. A lot of the success on these mission objectives depends on the success of the project. So, at this point, the communities and the discussions we've had have been around environmental considerations. And from a project viability perspective, we want to make sure that the geotechnical work is completed. In the exclusive negotiations letter, there is a very detailed request for environmental studies. So the way we see it is the mission objectives are absolutely front and center, and we will get to them. But if we don't have a project, then the mission fails regardless. And right now, what we think we need to get done is make sure the project is feasible, from a technical perspective, it's feasible from the zoning approach, which is also part of the direction direction that we've got from the URA, and that the project is financeable. We have a source of funds to actually execute the project. Once though we get a level of confidence, I think it makes sense to then refocus on some of these mission objectives. Hopefully that answers your question. It's not that we're not focusing on the mission objectives, and we certainly have a good plan for that. But we want to make sure that the project is viable. That was like number one, front and center in our minds. Hopefully that explains why we haven't made a lot of progress on the job training right now.
Okay. I don't personally have a problem extending the exclusive negotiation period, but I'm wondering if staff can help connect Mr. Pandaya and the development team to already existing training resources that can help meet these objectives. Because to me, if the goal is to try to pair, community residents with family sustaining careers in the construction industry, the only sensible way to do that is to partner with the building trades and the already existing pre-apprenticeship programs that do exactly that. So you don't have to recreate programs that are already existing and funded and redesign the wheel. And so that those workers end up in what is truly a sustainable lifelong career, and not just, earning some, getting some skills to work on one project and then having to figure out what the next non-union job is.
No, absolutely right. So just, a couple of things I should have probably mentioned it. One is we have connected with Pierce, I believe, from the URA. We've had 3 calls already with him. And the last message we got from him is that the URA is still developing the strategy for job training. And we will continue to stay engaged, so that as soon as we've got a little bit of more direction on how a URA would like to support or can support, we will be completely on it. The second thing we've done is we've selected Macero as our prime contractor. And in the contract and the proposals that we've received from Macero, we have a very clear, there's two aspects of this project that are going to be contractually required. One is to, again, support the job training program. And they've got tremendous insight into all the ongoing trainings that exist, but as well as access to providing future jobs. So that's being written into the contracts. And the second thing is the MWBE participation levels as well. So that I should have probably mentioned. So there's we've got the training program in place. We have a very good concept, and we're happy to send that offline to you in more details in writing. That's in place. Since we're going to have a prime contractor on the project, it's important that the prime contractor buy into that, support it, as well as to the point you made, which is what happens after the training. Do they have other jobs they can go to? Are they going to be linked up to unions? One of the things we are considering right now is the strong use of union labor on the project as well. So there's going to be a lot of these pieces that we can bring together at the right time, assuming the project is viable, feasible, and we move forward. So I'm happy to provide all the details of what's going on the job training side, as well as anything else from a mission perspective that you feel is important.
Okay.
Chairman Williamson, from a staffing perspective, I will be taking a more directed role in this, and we'll get
back to the board. Chris, I'm going to have my assistant reach out to you and schedule some time for us to have a discussion about the workforce element of this so that we can get the board real comfortable with how that's tracking.
Absolutely. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to follow on to that, Dr. Walker and Chris, I appreciate, the approach that you outlined, but to underscore Chair Williamson's point, I think moving along these mission, aspects of the project in parallel, right, will ultimately, result in a better project on the backside, rather than thinking, one is sort of happens, after the other. So I would encourage, you to work with staff and how that can happen, with deeper levels of affordability, with those workforce aspects, with the environmental concerns or anything else that the community brings up through this process, over these 90 days. These 90 days are really to do a lot of work and get things lined up. So, encourage you to do that so that when we're talking about this again, some of these questions are already answered and we're not sort of thinking that we can punt the ball, further down the road.
Yeah, no, I understand. And the point is well taken. We will make sure that we've got some of those things progressed in the 90 days, along with the other items that we're working on.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's a really good point. I mean, otherwise we're going to look at, if the next step presumably is to come back to the board and to, begin the actual transaction, then we're going to be looking at, a whole bunch of unanswered questions or the possibility of adding a bunch of contingencies to to those votes. So
yeah, no, understand. Just one quick question to the board and the chair. Would you like me to provide follow-up with some details on what has been done in these missions, or what's the action plan for that? If that will be helpful, just as a follow-up through Donita.
It would be a good executive session, but I'm sorry, Dr. Walker, please.
I'm sorry, I was going to say that you could send that to Donita and please send a copy to me and I'll make sure that the board is properly briefed and updated.
Okay, thank you. No, and just one last word. My sincere thanks to the URA staff and Donita for some of the support they provided, and as well as the council. So thank you.
Yep, thank you. Sounds like there'll be hopefully some additional steps taken over the next 90 days and a bunch of additional information forthcoming. And but it does also sound like you're kind of on the right track on a lot of these issues. So I, think it personally makes sense to approve the extension. I don't know what other board members think, or if there's a motion to approve at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, and we'll see you again sometime soon.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Carry on now to the South Sideworks. You've been busy.
I have been very busy. And after this, I'm done talking to you guys, I swear. My last one. So next up, we have the South Sideworks multifamily project. And today we recommend approval of final evidence of financing, final drawings, and authorization to execute a deed for the sale of Block 26E, Lot 9 in the 16th Ward on the South Side waterfront. The board previously approved the preliminary proposal package for this project back in October of 2021. Samara Road proposes constructing a 7-story, 246-unit residential building along the Monongahela Riverfront in the Southside Flats neighborhood. Total development costs are $75.3 million. The development will include 49 studio, 170 one-bedroom, and 27 two-bedroom market rate units, parking for 180 vehicles, 30,000 square feet of indoor and outdoor residential amenity space, and upgrades to the South Water Streetscape and linkages to the South Shore Riverfront Park and Heritage Trail. Although the site does not include affordable housing, Samara Road has put forth what we believe is the only feasible proposal while requiring no government soft funds or tax breaks, something that has proven to be very difficult given the site conditions. The project will obligate Samara Road to create 17 affordable units at the neighboring Southside Flats property across the street, which is 20% affordable units at an 80% AMI. That will be 14 one-bedroom units and 3 two-bedroom units. The project will also obligate Samara to reserve 5,000 square feet of below market rate retail space for locally owned businesses. They'll also invest $4.7 million in public infrastructure and improvements, including public art, streetlights, an ice skating rink for winter months, a playground, a town square for community events. They also plan to increase higher MWBE participation goals for the project by 7% and 3% respectively. In turn, the URA has agreed to extend the D3A development rights for another parcel at the Southside waterfront until 2026. Today, we have Chris McCune, project manager for Samara Road, as well as a few other Samara Road folks who will be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Danita. This is Chris McCune with Samara Road. Andrew Donchez with Samara Road is also on the line. I believe he's joined us before. We're pleased to be back here in front of the board at this stage with our project, which we think is been a true collaborative effort with the URA. And as I said, very excited to be at this point. Really appreciative of Danita's efforts jumping in, relatively new to the URA, picking up what has been a site and a deal structure with a lot of moving parts and pieces, but ultimately we think is respectful of the overall investment in the Southside Works that the URA, envisioned. It started 20 plus years ago. So we're very excited to be at the point we're at. We're moving in a lot of different directions at the same time with the anticipation of being able to close on the property in the coming months here and start construction in the spring. So happy to answer any other questions or provide any other color that may be needed at this time.
Thanks, Chris. I would just, I guess, remind mostly public that this project was deeply debated at multiple meetings last year, and the board received multiple, I believe, pretty deep dive briefings into the underlying finances of the project, and staff, very grateful for them, did an incredible job kind of scouring the finances of this project to try to figure out a way to ensure that affordable units were included in the project, and that the result of that sort of ongoing negotiations back and forth over the course of many months and really deep analysis of the underlying construction finances and financial realities this project faces resulted in this agreement that the developer would deliver 17 affordable units immediately, but at the neighboring building of the flats, which they also own and operate. And so this will bring those units online immediately, not when construction is over, is my understanding. And and also deliver much needed affordable retail space, among other things. That affordable retail space is also critical to building a thriving, diverse economy. And so we appreciate those commitments the developer has made.
I just want to add, just because it was a concern of mine last time this came to the board, but the affordable units will be made available immediately, but also will be identical to the market rate one. So they're not, a set of units that are affordable that look different than the market rate one. So just want to make sure that that's still the case.
Yes, that's the case. There's no carve outs in the flats building of what's affordable or not affordable. It's all the the plan there is, when a unit becomes available, it turns to affordable until we meet those requirements.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And so unless there are any additional questions or comments or things that board members want to highlight, I think a motion to approve would be in order.
Just briefly, Mr. Chair, first, I wanted to thank you as a new board member for the recap as well as for the public's benefit. I know this has been a challenging project, like you said, from the staff and the board's perspective. So do applaud the work that the staff has done to get it here, with some inclusion of affordable units and certainly the affordable commercial space. I guess for, staff to work, with the team at Samara Road, the Southside Flats is one of the areas that qualifies for the Housing Authority's mobility vouchers. So that allows for the rents to be higher. So to whatever degree we're able to work in tandem, with our sister agency to allow, residents that have those mobility vouchers to avail themselves of these units that are coming online soon. I think that would just help to, deliver, while the rents, may be higher than I think we all would have hoped at 80% AMI, those vouchers should hopefully allow folks, at lower income levels to still access these units. So hopefully that is something that we can make happen.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great point. Anything else on this one? If there are no other questions or comments, then a motion would be in order.
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Sorry, I just wanted to highlight the
sorry.
question in the chat. Sorry about commercial space. So the question is, when will commercial space be available for leasing?
So I believe a lot of the requirements are going to go in upon closing on the property. So when we close on the property, all of the other requirements of this proposal will take effect. That said, there will be steps, and Danita and I have talked about this on our weekly calls, of starting to interweave URA staff as needed with our brokerage team, so that they're aware and we can start to develop a plan to execute those spaces, or execute, leasing those spaces to affordable entities, and develop a targeted plan to identify firms and companies that qualify and that will benefit from those commercial spaces and will be accretive to the overall Sideworks retail community.
I appreciate it. Just wanted to make sure that that question was highlighted.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And I believe that takes us to the disclosure agenda as our final action item today.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Chris. Yep. So the disclosure agenda has been distributed. Unless there are any specific things that board members want to highlight, approval in its entirety would be appropriate.
So move.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That brings us to the conclusion of today's meeting. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thanks for great, robust discussion on a number of those housing agenda items. And we will see everyone in March, on March 10th, I believe. Yeah, March 10th for our next regularly scheduled board meeting and the URA's annual meeting. Thank you. The meeting stands adjourned.
Thank you. All right, and we are